Tilly got out of bed and stood for a long moment staring at the painting hanging on the wall, Henry's portrait of her at 13. She'd moved the painting years ago from the old place up on the mountain behind her house and hung it by her bed to remind herself of who she'd been before Frank left, and before she'd built her home and business and tried to forge a life that hadn't worked out quite how she'd imagined. She put on jeans and a flannel and pulled her hair into a ponytail, then went down the hallway and peeked slowly around the corner into the kitchen. But the only thing there was the untouched blackberry pie she made every year on the eve of their shared birthdays. Only this was the birthday that marked her 30th year and Frank's 50th, the day he said he'd come back. The kitchen suddenly felt too small, too close. She went outside, fleeing an overwhelming sense of disappointment. It had cooled some overnight. Nighthawks flew in long, twisty loops, searching the overcast sky for insects above Stone Creek that ran beside her house. A mild, humid wind dimpled the creek as a yellowed leaf from a towering walnut landed on the slow-running water, backed up by the dam sitting just below Tilly's home. The same dam that had triggered Frank to blow up all the others. Tilly looked back at her house and her woodshop next door. Both stood between the base of Short Mountain and the edge of town. She wondered if the FBI was watching her property, waiting for Frank like she was. Behind the house, an old, long-forgotten footpath wove through the woods that went up the mountain to the cabin where she and Frank once lived. In front of her house lay the small town of Cottersville, sitting along the Delaware River, which separated Pennsylvania from New Jersey. Just like her life, her home was caught somewhere between the wild, unknowable mountain of her past and the domesticated but equally inscrutable town of her present. She turned back to her front door, but decided not to go in there, not right now. Instead, she went to her shop, turned on the lights, and checked the corkboard for the next furniture order. She might as well get some work done. Maybe that would help get her mind off Frank. The shop phone rang. It was early for a call. Tilly hesitated, wondering if it could be Frank. Longing and trepidation thrummed in her chest as she answered. "Tilly, it's Greg Roberts." The mayor had never called her before. She relaxed some. She could not continue on like this. Frank was gone. "I've only got a minute, but figured you'd want to know the town council is meeting about the dam on Monday night. They're thinking of finally taking it out. Figured you'd want to be there." This was a surprise. For years, she'd tried everything to convince the town to remove the dam. All her efforts seemed to be for nothing when town council made the decision to keep it 3 years ago. But maybe now they were about to change their tune. "Thanks for letting me know." She hung up, and a noise from the back of the shop made her turn. That's when Frank stepped out of the shadows.